My name's Alex, and this is Tank Tested. In this video, I'm going to go through a rundown of how I kept this tank virtually maintenance-free for the last 7 months. I set up this scape live at a competition at New York's Reefapalooza. I'll explain the details of that competition at the end of this video. So let's talk about this tank. I set it up in June of 2017, and in January of 2018, it's still up and running and looks pretty much the same. I think there are 4 things that kept this tank low maintenance. First, let's talk about the plants. There are a lot of plants in this aquarium, and most of them are pretty slow growing. My favorite are the Bucevalandra. Now, Buce is an extremely slow growing plant. I would be surprised if I got more than a few leaves from each of these plants in the last 7 months. There are at least 4 species in this tank. I'll be doing a whole video about Bucevalandra and how it can be used sustainably in a future video. In the foreground you can see Marsilia hirsuta. That's the 4-leaf clover plant, and there is no way I pronounced it correctly. There's also a carpet of dwarf hairgrass and a small clump of S. rapens. All 3 of these grow at a medium rate, but I've slowed their growth down pretty dramatically, and I'll explain how in a second. The pops of red are a variegated form of Altanentra reinecke. Now, I am 1000% sure that is not how it's pronounced, but I'm doing my best here. It's a relatively slow-growing plant, especially before it gets fully rooted, but I have had to trim it a few times. Then there are the speed demons of this tank, the Ludwigia and the Christmas moss. I have to trim both every 6 weeks or so, and that is the most maintenance that I have to do on this tank. So why does everything grow so slowly? Well, it mainly comes down to CO2. I know many people use a lot of CO2 on their planted aquariums. I don't. I start my tanks with CO2 and then I wean them off of it over the course of about a month. This tank has had no CO2 for about 5 months. The main effect of that is that everything grows really slowly. Even the fast-growing plants slow down dramatically when they are deprived of CO2. It's not without consequence. There is a little bit of yellowing here and there, especially on the dwarf hairgrass. Some of the leaves don't look quite as good as they normally would. But overall, I've found a lack of CO2 keeps this tank in stasis. The third thing I use to keep this tank low maintenance is actually just what came in the box for the aquarium. The tank itself is a great dimension for a Nano Aquascape. It's a foot deep, it's 14.5 inches across, and it's 11 inches tall. That means light can easily penetrate to the bottom of the tank, and you've got lots of space to work with. The tank also came with this light, and I really like it for growing plants slowly. The light provides great coverage over the entire tank, but it doesn't shine so brightly that I've ever had to deal with algae. Now, this is not a sponsored video, but if you're thinking about getting this tank, please buy it through the affiliate links in the description of this video. I do these videos for free and they take quite a lot of time, so if I've inspired you to get this tank, clicking the link is a free way to help me out. Now let's get back to the 4th item on my list. The last thing that keeps this tank low maintenance is, well, everything else that's in the tank. For starters, I used a dark rock that doesn't attract algae growth and disguises algae growth better than a lighter rock. For anyone that's wondering, the rock is petrified wood. It is a great material for small scapes, but because it's so chunky, it's hard to use in a larger scape without it feeling artificial. You can also see that I have both cherry shrimp and snails in the aquarium. The snails help to control the algae growth, and the shrimp scavenge and eat biofilm. The fish you might recognize from my last video, they are Lambchop raspora, and this is their permanent home. To keep the fish happy and healthy, I do regular water changes. I trim the plants every 6 weeks, and that's it. At the start of this video, I mentioned that I built this scape as part of a live aquascaping competition. The aquascaping event was organized by Dustin of Dustin's Fish Tanks. If you want to see how this tank looked when I originally set it up, Dustin shot a great video of all 10 tanks on competition day. I'll link that here and in the description of this video. If you like the work I'm doing, let me know, and hit subscribe so that you can see every video I make from here on out. Thanks for watching, and have a great week.